Welcome and thank you for joining me for Restore and Renew. As we settle in, we will start on our back. I invite you to have a bolster or something that creates a little stone hedge, two blocks and a blanket, a couch cushion you could borrow a while, something like that on your left hand side of your mat. And then having a block or a pillow or a blanket that folds into a fairly narrow height on the right hand side. So they're just available to you. They're accessible when we come down to begin on your back. All right. So once you have those things arranged, note along the way, there's no need to rush any of this. Places we'll spend time are ones in which we intentionally linger. And so there's no need to rush. That's all the stuff that happens before you get here. Right. So if you felt like you were rushing to get here, I understand. So let's come down as you're ready onto your back. If lying flat is a bit much, you could always put something underneath of your back or under your head for support. I'm a fan of bending my knees, soles of feet on floor, feet wide, knees together for a shape called constructive rest. And really, the short version is find that place in which you can be comfortable. And if you need more propping to be comfortable here, please set that up. And once you found that place of comfort, breathe in. Breathe out. Allow any little shifts or wiggles to invite you to eventually find a place of relative stillness as you breathe in and you breathe out. As you continue to breathe here in your first shape, I invite you to take the next bit of time to create space. Breathe space in between where you were and where you are now. As you continue to breathe here, noticing where the mind may or may not be. You may find that the beginning of the practice is a place where settling in can be a challenge. As you breathe here, perhaps place one hand on your upper abdomen, one hand just below it, to take a physical connection. This reminder of your smooth, even breath here in this shape. And if you continue to find a little bit of a challenge or wonder what's next, I invite you to consider that what comes next is likely an inhale or an exhale, and invite you to luxuriate in having just that one thing to do. No need to worry. There will be other shapes we find, other poses and explorations of the body and the breath. But also know that if being right here, right now, or in any other given place that feels good to your body, if that's the place to breathe, that's everything. That's the top of the list. Breathe, attempt to be mindful, pose that feels good. And take one more breath in this shape. And empty that out. We'll meet with the legs long on the floor. And once you found the legs long, if they weren't before, just kind of see how that feels. Begin to explore our side body with a shape called banana asana. So, in your mind's eye, imagine a banana. It's probably yellow. There are small red ones as well, but mm, either way, has a nice curve to it. And so, a curved banana shape is a lateral stretch as we take the right heel over to the right edge of the mat. I like scooting my hips to the left a little bit to create a little bit of a opening in that left side. And then take your left ankle next to your right. You'll likely feel a little bit of sensation in the outside of the left hip. You can cross your left ankle over your right if you would like. And from there, into shimmy our head and shoulders to the top right corner of the mat. Keep the hips grounded, keep the shoulders grounded. Arms can rest on your torso. Arms can halo overhead. If your shoulders are okay with it, you might extend your arms over to the right side, kind of lengthening, and feel that curved banana asana from your left wrist all the way down to your ankles. And here, send some smooth, full breath into your left side. As you spend time here, if you found it helpful to let a body, like an arm, rest on your torso as you spent time in your shape, you're welcome to take that right hand, let it rest on your torso. That left arm creates that lateral stretch. Then the right arm tethers you to your breath. Invite a breath into your left side. Empty that out. And begin to mindfully make your way back into the midline. Little wiggles, little shifts to find the feet, the hips, and the shoulders all back in line. From here, with the bolster scenario on your left, we're going to slide the right foot in. Place your right foot on the floor to start, knee to ceiling. Press down into your right foot, lift your hips up off the mat a bit, and scoot them over to the right. From there, gather your right leg in. You can hold your thigh or hold your shin. You might invite the knee into the chest. You might soften the grip and invite the knee into the armpit. If you want to take a little side to side, you can kind of move between those two places, just inviting some mobility in your right hip. And then the next time your right knee is tracking towards the center, towards the left, we'll take it all the way over to land on your bolster. If you find that you'd like a little more support beneath your right leg, you can certainly grab an extra something. If you feel like it's just the right spot, and breathe into your hip, your low back, and the sensation you have here. Or perhaps it's lovely and supported and there's less sensation. In either of those cases, know that your body is in a twist. You're influencing the energy, how the breath moves in the body. And you come back into that smooth, cyclical breath. As you linger here, listen to the whisper of your breath. Notice if there's any places that are gripping or holding. Can you breathe a little softness? Maybe send the exhale to those places, inspiring ease. Breathe in. With your exhale, begin to very gently, all the time you need, to bring your hips back to the midline. If there is that hip scoot, we'll bring the hips back into the middle. Gather your right leg in once more, holding thigh or holding shin. And here, just take a little rotation with your ankle in one direction and a few rotations in the other direction. And come back to center. And from there, point your toe to the bottom edge of the mat. Stretch out the front of your ankle. And then flex the toes to the face. Press through the heel. Do that one more time. Point the toe, breathe into the ankle. Flex the foot. And that flexed foot will land that right foot on the floor. Nearby, have that block, bolster, or folded blanket. As the right knee drift open to the side, you might appreciate, or your leg might appreciate, having a little support beneath it. Maybe it's just under the kneecap or a little bit deeper. And here in resting tree, check in to see how much support would feel good for the inner right leg. And as you find that place where the leg can settle, maybe there's a little sensation, but mostly there's comfort in this external rotation of your right hip. And dropping back into your breath. as you spend time in each of these shapes. Know that your breath, the inhale followed by the exhale, each one is an invitation back to the present moment. Breathe into the right side. And your exhale, slide the right leg long on the floor, lands next to the left. And take a few moments here to notice one leg in relationship to the other. And then before we find our series on our second side, maybe migrate your items, swapping sides with any props you were using. And if they're similar in size, you might just be good to go. All right, so our lateral stretch, banana asana, left heel to left edge of mat. Again, that hip scoot to the right might feel like a little extra. Now, not everyone's geometry is different. So I find that extra little length feels good. But if you find that that just creates too much sensation, you don't have to take that little shift. Shoulder and head begin to come to the top left corner. Arm variation of your choice. I personally am a fan of, in this instance, right arm overhead. Left hand rests on my sort of upper torso, feeling the edges of my ribs, feeling the movement of the breath in the torso. And sending big full breath into your right rib cage. Just like at the beginning of practice, using your inhales to create space. Use your exhales to soften and sink into that space. And breathe in. As you release the exhale, beginning to release the body back into the middle, making any little adjustments and tuning into the two sides. Maybe you feel a centimeter longer than when you first came down to the mat. Slide the left foot in, solar foot to floor. As you press down, lift your hips up and over to the left a little bit. Gather your left leg in, holding thigh or shin. Let's give it a gentle squeeze into the chest. You might soften and take the knee in towards the armpit. And again, if it would feel nice to take a little side to side, inviting some mobility into the hip joint. Maybe noticing some sensation in your hip flexor. The next time your knee tracks towards the middle, towards the right, will come all the way over. And finding the propping and the shifting of the hips that allows you to settle in and tune into the sensation that shows up on this side. Could be quite different than the other one. If you would like to put anything under your left shoulder, or again, layer anything more underneath of your leg, please feel free. You can set the shape up to be as supported as you'd like. You could also make it a little less supported, which leans towards more like a gentle yin experience, sensation, but supported sensation, perhaps. Mhm. As you breathe in and breathe out, and following smooth, cyclical breath, perhaps visualizing that breath running up and down the length of the spine. And breathe in here. Releasing the exhale as you release yourself back to center, evening out the hips, giving your left leg a squeeze once more, finding those ankle rotations in one direction and the other direction. Maybe noticing if one ankle is way quieter than the other or just feels different. As you come back to neutral-ish, we'll point the toes away, stretch into the ankle, and flex the toes towards the face. And one more as you point the toe, nice little ankle stretch, and flex the toes towards the face. We'll land the left foot down on the earth, and finding that blanket, block, pillow. And frankly, if you're comfortable just letting the leg be open to the side, you could do that as well, like a little support. Setting up your second side of resting tree in a fashion that is comfortable. Hands land in a place that feels good to you. Breathe in. Breathe out. As you spend time in each of these shapes, you may notice that the brain, the mind, wants something to do. And that's perfectly natural because the job of our brain, in fact, is to think. And to ask our brain not to do anything at all would be like asking our lungs to not breathe. It's not going to go so well. And so if you find that the mind keeps wandering off or bringing things in, just acknowledge that. Offer yourself compassion, and then offer your mind the task of listening to your breath, of feeling the movement of your breath. And place your mind on the characteristics of your breath. Breathe in. Lengthening the left leg back out as you exhale. Tuning into both legs and how they feel now in relationship to when you first came to the floor. Begin to walk both feet in. Know that you could stay here with knees bent, maybe even feet wide. You could choose to begin to draw your knees in towards your body, Apasana. Give a little squeeze or simply hold the legs. You can linger, or if a little side to side rock would feel good, might take a little movement. If that side to side feels pretty good on the low back, you could also soften that grip and invite the circle slash side to side to roll around the outside edge of the hips, taking big hip circles. If you take two or so in one direction, again, there's no need to rush. Think about this like when you first open a jar of like almond butter or peanut butter, the natural kind with the oil on top. How mindfully are you stirring that jar? It's like the most zen thing you can do. Once you found those circles in the two directions, we'll come back to center. From here in center, I invite you to either roll over to one side. If you want to rock up to a seat, you can, but perhaps you just roll over to the side for a moment. Let the knees stack perhaps, or the knees stagger, the head rest in the arm for a moment. Honor the transition. Finding strength in your arms, the head comes up last, taking the time you need. The gaze can stay soft or maybe even close the eyes. And as you find your way up to a seat, notice how the sensation shifts. If there's any little swoosh or whirl. And you land in whatever seat suits you. Just take a moment to land wherever you are. Let everything be how it is. Here, find the head stacked above the heart stacked above the hips. Breathe in. Breathe out. As you land here in your seat, feel how the relationship between your body and the earth, and your shift between you and gravity, how does that feel? Here, the gaze can be soft, perhaps to locate something you might like to sit on. I'm a fan of sitting on a blanket. Just have whatever you might like just nearby. You can sit on a block or a pillow, the edge of a blanket if that feels good to you. Just a little lift of the hips, which invites a little more length in the spine, makes it a bit more easeful to sit. And so once you found your version of a seat, please know you could also do all of these things we're going to do sitting in a chair, right? So with that being the case, all the things we're going to do are maybe things you can take with you and, do them in the middle of the day. So throw that out there. Here in our tall seat, the gaze can be soft or the eyes can close once more to come back in to the inhale and the exhale. And with your expansive inhale, roll your shoulders up around your ears. And the exhale, invite the shoulders back and down. And you take several rounds of your shoulder rolls. Let the whole range of motion be honored. And whatever your range of motion is, it's perfect. Taking them shallow or deep. Inviting breath and movement to come together. Another inhale to roll the shoulders up around the ears. The exhale to invite the shoulders back and down. Keeping the shoulders nice and heavy, elbows heavy. Hands can rest upon the legs. Here, with an inhale, take your gaze and pivot it towards your left shoulder. It doesn't have to go super far, just as far as it'll go. And with your inhale, bring the gaze back to center. And with your exhale, drift the gaze the other way. With that simple pattern, we'll find it 2 more times as you inhale, center. Drift your gaze to the left. Come to center. And find your other side. So you take one more round of this movement that seems so natural to each of us. Perhaps when you're driving a car or someone says something to you and you turn and look. It's one of the only places in the body where you can pivot in this way. Just appreciating the mobility you have today. We'll find our way back into center. And here with the nose in center, take a breath in. And with your exhale, drift your chin down towards your chest. With your next inhale, lift your gaze or gazeless gaze all the way up to the ceiling. And exhale, chin to chest. And 2 more of those. Slow motion nods. Honoring the mobility. Allowing yourself space and time. After you found those 2 more rounds, we'll come back to a neutral neck. Shoulders back and down, sitting nice and tall. Invite a breath in here. And tilt your left ear over to listen to your left shoulder. This I find to be the most challenging of the bunch, of the 3 pairs. So we're going to linger here, breathe into the right side of your neck. Option to take your right hand and let it just rest off to the side of the floor. If that's enough sensation, linger here just with the arm being heavy. Or take that right hand and tuck it underneath of your right hip to sit on your hand. And see what that feels like. And if it's too much, just let it go. If you were sitting on your hand, we'll slide that back out, slink it back on top of your leg, gently lifting the head back up to neutral. Notice how one side feels weird, the other side feels less weird. And simply begin to drift the opposite direction. Checking out how compression is just as much of a sensation as tension, right? Tension's the lengthening. Compression is the squooshing. If you have plenty of sensation, keep breathing. Or keep breathing. Take your left hand off to the side just to be heavy. Or tuck that hand under your bum. Add a little extra length as you breathe into the left side of your neck. Releasing your hand, bringing it back up into the lap, beginning to draw your head back to center-ish. Oh, maybe it feels a centimeter longer now. So we're going to bring those 6 movements of the cervical spine, the 7 vertebrae that live here in your lovely neck. So we have the flexion and extension, the twist, and then the lateral. So we'll bring all of those together as we drift the chin down towards the chest. And as you find an inhale, roll the right ear over to the right shoulder. Option to lean it back a little bit, but just see how that feels. If it's too much, you can stay towards the side. Next time you find an exhale, drift the chin down in towards the chest. Beginning to find your way around left ear to opposite shoulder. Ooh. Again, you can lift the head back a little bit or not. You may even play with a little sort of gentle sway from side to side or front to back. The exhale carries you to center. You can stick with that half circle, or if you'd like to find a full circle, check in with your spine, sit nice and tall. I just noticed a little slouching on my side of the mat here. So half circles or a full circle each way. Once you found either several half circles or 2 circles, or whatever movement felt good for you in your neck, we'll meet back with the chin in towards the chest. All the time you need here to inhale, lift the chin up, inhale the shoulders up, and back and down. Shift the weight back a little bit. Uncross and recross your legs if you had them crossed. If you find that this is a bit much for anything in the body, you can always go back to where you were, but just rearranging to the other side of that cross seat. And from here, take your arms off to the side. With the inhale, sweep the arms up. Lift the gaze if that feels good. Lengthen from tailbone through fingertips. And then take your right hand down to your side. Left hand can stay lingering. Left hand can also rest on your noggin. We're going to lengthen and lean over to the side. Just create some space up the side body, just like we did in banana. Just a stand-in banana, or it's supposed to be a seated banana. Keep your right hand grounded. With your inhale, come back up to your neutral spine. Float that floaty hand across to your thigh, your shin, your knee, someplace here. Sit tall. The gaze can stay forward-ish or explore twist. Your depth could be a little bit more. A few smooth breaths here. And release the fingertips as you inhale, come up through center once again, sitting nice and tall. Take your left hand over to the side. Hand can stay glued down as you sit tall. You can take a little lean. Again, just as much as it feels like a good idea for you. And keeping the left hand glued down as you come back to a neutral spine. Floaty hand comes across. Your depth of the twist. It could be, so anything past neutral is something. So if it's 2 degrees or 20 degrees or 22 degrees, whatever that might be, as you breathe in to sit tall. Find your depth as you breathe out. And releasing the hands as you inhale, come back up through center, reach through the fingertips. Bring the palms together. You're going to interlace fingers and then press the palms to the ceiling. You can keep the elbows bent. Again, the depth that feels good here as you lengthen from tailbone through crown of head and all the way up through the wrists. Take a breath in. With your exhale, float the hands down in front of you, palms away. Press the palms away from you. Begin to stretch your back out like a cat. With your inhale, bring the palms towards you. Heart shines into the hands, shoulders peel back, maybe look up. Find an exhale to round the spine, press the hands away, lengthen the arms. Take two more of those. Inhale, draw that light into your hands, gratitude, compassion. With the exhale, your depth of cat as you offer that out. And one more here as we inhale, lift heart, lift gaze, gather up that light and energy. With the exhale, stretching out the back a bit, offering that up. Nice. Keep the interlaced fingers, and then bring the shoulders back to neutral, spine back to neutral, elbows float off to the sides. Bring your left heel of your hand towards your right elbow. Hands come perpendicular to the floor, little wrist stretch. And fingers. Hands in general. And we'll come back through center and take the other side. Sweet. And then just a little movement. We'll take it one way, just a little fluidity here for the hands and the wrists. Take it the other way. And then we'll come back to neutral, releasing the fingers. Good old finger wiggle. Our small joints need love also. Little wrist rotation one way. Ooh, and the other way. Nice. Some big circles with the arms and the shoulders if that feels good. If it doesn't, shoulders are awesome also. Fantastic. From there, we're going to, indeed, bring our feet out in front of us into a diamond shape for a little time in seated butterfly. As you spend time in seated butterfly, I invite you to have some space between your heels and your torso. You could sit tall here in this shape for as long as you'd like. If you'd like to layer on a bit of a folded butterfly, you might take your couch cushion, sleeping bag, bolster, whatever you might have, and place that in front of you. I'm actually a fan of perpendicular, and then I let my forearms rest. And so the depth you find in your folded butterfly, not nearly as important as what you're starting to feel as you come forward. If you're super duper propped, it'll simply be a really beautiful place to fold into this and create some length in your back. If they're partial propped, you're going to enjoy sensation in the hips, along with that lengthening of the spine and some sensation in your low back. All right. So wherever you might be, perhaps you soften the gaze or close the eyes. Allow the hands to rest and tap back into that smooth, even breath. And we'll spend a little more time here than some of the other shapes. And so as you settle into this shape, you could choose to follow along or just tune me out, your practice. But as you linger here, I invite you to bring your awareness to your inhale. Mhm. Use counting to discern the length of your inhale. With a few rounds, you get an average number. And that might be a 3 or 4 or a 2. And when you have that number, the length of your inhale, I invite you now to guide your exhale to mimic the length of the inhale. It might take a few rounds. That's all right. It's a practice of pranayama, influence on the breath. We're working towards samavritti pranayama, equal fluctuation of our breath. And this tool is used to balance the energy, balance the body, and in time, the mind. And you can use the count of your breath as a tether, as the task for your mind to support you. And you breathe into your version of folded butterfly. Breathe in. Breathe out. If you had found your way forward, all the time you need, we'll eventually meet back in a tall spine. If you happen to be there, all good. It's a perfect opportunity to take another shoulder roll or three. If you had your bolster as a prop, we'll set it what would technically be like behind you or on one end of the mat. And begin to unravel your legs and bring the knees together. Wherever you might be, maybe it's just all wherever you are, but maybe it's also on the edges of the mat. And here on your forearms or on your hands, just find a little side to side movement. Might feel nice to hang out on one side of hammock. If so, hanging out on the other side. It might also feel really nice just to drift from side to side. Again, let this be easy. Slow is not always easy, but allow the movement just to be gentle. Once you found one more swoosh to a side, bring the knees back up. We're going to come up to a seat for just a moment to organize whatever you might like. So I have the bolster or the cushion or the 2 blocks and a blanket behind me. And then I'm going to probably borrow a pillow here. I'm going to create just a little, this could be a block or a pillow to give you a little lift to the head of the bolster to lie back on. Okay. Now, as we come down onto the bolster, one other thing you might have nearby is either 2 more pillows, 2 blocks, and have one on either side. If you happen to have your blanket nearby, just have whatever, little nest around. Okay, so once you have all of your accoutrement, the bolster, I invite, 3-4 inches between you and it. That's where I feel pretty good, but it's, again, different for every body, literally every body. We're gonna lie back. And as you come back onto to the shape, it should feel fantastic. And hopefully it does. If it doesn't, you might need a little more, a little less, kind of see what feels, or you might need to be a little further away from the bolster because your low back's a little pinchy. So get yourself a little riching, a little wriggling, finagling, any of the ings needed to settle into this supported back bend. And once you're there, know that you can keep your legs long, making this a restorative fish. If you have your blocks, blankets, pillows on the sides, you could also choose to walk your feet in, allow your knees to open, and be supported by any height. I like a little extra support here when I take this as a back bend with butterfly legs. So put anything you might like beneath your knees. And if you settle in here, arms can be off to the side, palms to the ceiling, or palms come back to rest on your torso. Come back into feeling the breath. If at any time, including right now, legs in butterfly is no bueno, just take your legs long anytime. All right. So whether it's recline butterfly pose or recline fish, support under your back, feeling this lift of the chest, lift of the sternum, opening of the heart space. And from there, the shoulders soft, arms heavy, the elbows rest upon the floor, hands land in a place that is comfortable. And feel the spaciousness of your expansive inhale. And the softening of your easeful exhale. In this shape, creating room for yourself as you breathe in. Settling into that space, filling up that room with the exhale. As you spend time here, lingering in your supported back bend. I invite you to draw your awareness to rest upon the exhales. Allowing every exhale to inspire ease and a softening as you sink into this shape. Invite a breath in. Feel the ease of your exhale. And take a few moments to feel yourself here in this shape. And feel where your body touches the props, where your breath moves in the body, and holding yourself here in awareness. To then pose the question, an internal query. Would you like to linger exactly as you are for your last shape of your practice? Or would you like to make any small adjustments? Extend legs, cover yourself with a blanket, or perhaps you move the bolster beneath the knees or slide everything aside. Just give yourself a little time here to settle into that last shape. And as you find your way here into this last shape, know that as I offer these words of relaxation, you could tune me out. Allow the words to float right by you, or you could steep yourself in the words, wrap them around you. As you begin to let the weight of your body settle back, your collarbones, shoulders releasing. Feel the opening of your chest to your breath. And simply observe your breath moving in and out of your body. Feel your chest expanding on a cool in breath. And softening on a warm out breath. And listen to the sound of your breath as it moves deep into your chest, like a gentle wind in a cave. Invite a breath in. And feel your face soften with the exhale. Invite a breath in. And your exhale invites ease into your jaw. Breathe in. Softening the shoulders with your exhale. Invite a breath in. And send your exhale all the way down to your toes. Here in your shape, feel the places on your body that make contact with the props and the floor and the foundation of your home, all the way down into the earth. Then visualize the earth rising up to meet you and holding you in this shape and supporting your body as you sink into the space. Your body holding your breath as it flows over the shape. Your breath holding your mind as your mind gently rests on the ebb and flow of your breath. In this grounded, supported shape. Every exhale washing over you, softening the edges as you sink back and surrender to your Shavasana. Breathe in. Breathe out. And begin to draw your awareness back to your room. And be aware of yourself here on the mat. In your mind's eye, picture the floor beneath you, the walls, and the ceiling above. Notice any sounds in the room, or perhaps outside of the room. Now allow your breath to deepen. And draw your breath deep into your body, down to the toes, and out through your fingertips, up to the crown of your head. And you begin to invite gentle movement back to your body. Wiggling fingers and toes, rotating wrists and ankles. Perhaps gently rocking your head from side to side. If it would feel good, an inhale can extend arms overhead as you breathe into a stretch. And as you draw your knees in towards your body, giving yourself a squeeze, finding your way over to rest your head in one side. And know that you could linger here, curled up around your brilliant, beautiful heart space for as long as you'd like. Lingering, listening to your breath. Or taking all the time you need, begin to gently and mindfully find your way back to your seat. And once you found your head stacked over your heart stacked over your hips, perhaps the shoulders roll back and down. Palms come together, Anjali Mudra, mudra of offering. Resting your thumbs against your sternum, bowing your chin to your heart space. Thanking yourself for making the time. Appreciating your breath for being your guide. Thanking your body for being so patient and resilient and strong on and off the mat. Thumbs travel to third eye point, your seat of intuition. I thank you for sharing your time and your beautiful energy with me. Until our paths cross again, my friend, be well. Namaste.